All right. Um, Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I don't have a name for any of this yet, so it's still a work in progress. I was thinking about spit that grease, just a thought. I'll name this segment later, something like that. I'll figure it out. But that doesn't really matter at the moment. Big ups to all of you guys and whatnot. Take a seat and whatnot. I'll go ahead and pour us a drink or something. And I'd like to run something by you guys if I could. To be honest, something I've been thinking about. So, excuse me a second. I've been thinking about, as of recent, DSP's pay to win. Basically, that's what it is. It's basically his pay to win strategy for streaming and gaming, right? You know, the dual PCs, all the bells and whistles. I haven't sat there and watched the entire boom mic setup and all that nonsense. I watched the Snort Burnell version of it, and I think I've seen the Memology version of it as well. But I haven't actually sat there and watched it in its full thing, in the full context of it yet. I saw enough foolishness there and incompetence that I gotta be honest, it wasn't an embarrassment because it's just blatantly was retardation. But there was something unusually pathetic about watching that. And not in the ha ha ha, that's pathetic. It's like it wasn't funny. Like it's funny, but it's not funny. Like it was like it's really okay. Okay. Let's start this off. Let's start this off. So this idiot is trying to play catch up. That's very obvious. He's trying to catch up. He's trying to get himself to what is considered the not company standard, but the industry standard as it pertains to streaming and gaming. Even though most streamers don't stream off two PCs, most of them don't have to. Most of their main rigs are strong enough to where they can stream and they can play games at whatever quality that they choose to. But that's neither here nor there. The point is he's trying to bring himself up to the industry standard. He's still not even there yet, and he's still failing miserably. This pay-to-win thought process he has is damn near maddening in the fact that you still have to, or he still has to, I should say. DSP still has to put in some work. You still have to get into the settings. You still have to adjust some stuff. You may have to download some additional programs. You still got to learn something. Right? It's not just it pops out of the box and it just works. If you wanted that, then stay your ass back on console where you belong. But if you're trying to really get into the PC, if you're really into PC gaming, you're really trying to broaden your horizons, it's not pay to win easy type shit. You got to still do some work. And the fact that Nexus has I've used them before. I didn't even know they had a paid service. I had no clue. I wouldn't have bought it anyway. But I was stunned that they had a paid service, and they were saying, "Oh, well, who was? I can't remember who it was now. It might have been on Detractor Twitter, or something, or it may have been on Detractor Twitter. Someone was like, one reason that most people use it would be to give like additional support to some of the modders. But I know for sure, for someone, I play 7 Days to Die. I'm bad at it, but I love it. I play 7 Days to Die, and they have, in the modders that are over there, they have like PayPal links or, other ways that you can support them, like other, like Streamlabs, Stream Elements, so on and so forth. And you could just donate directly through them. Most people have done it for the Kane mods, which is Darkness Falls. They have a YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel too, and he streams. But anyway, you can directly donate to the modders there. I don't know. I just don't see the purpose of it, because there's a lot of Discords floating around too where you can download safely. You can download mods that are on Nexus through them. If the files are just too big, you can just download it through there too. I don't know. I just didn't know that. I really didn't know that. Maybe that just speaks to how out of touch I was, I guess. I don't know. I never had a need to pay for a service for mods that people give out for free. That just seems weird. And like I said, if you want to donate, there are ways of doing so. But this pay-to-win model is going to fail miserably. When I first initially heard it, I thought he was just trying to max out his spending so he could use that as a deduction on his taxes. I thought initially that's what it was. I still think that's what it is, to be honest with you. But now that I'm looking at it, he's just in this desperate attempt to catch up. And he thinks his money's going to carry him across the finish line. Here's my question to you and to him, but he's an idiot. So this is my question to all of you. Why did you wait till now to do it? Now, there's a couple of different triggers, if you will, or prompts, ironically enough, that I think set him off. I think one of them was LTG, and that's earlier in 2024. If anything, a lot of the changes that were made, I won't say all of them, but a lot of the changes that were made were because of LTG. That's very clear. I think that was the prompt, but the trigger was Kino Casino. My thing is, if you just look at the amount of money he spent, he could have easily have done this through Vestry. This easily could have been done in 2020. It could have been done in 2022, theoretically as well. Why did he wait till damn near now to do all this? And the thing is the spending is so frivolous, I can understand why no one would care to ask that question. I don't blame you. But it really makes you wonder, being that he had to have pulled the same amount of money through Vestry, or damn near close. I mean, obviously it's been in a decline since August, but I would say, I mean, the Kino arc has probably brought him more money, and obviously in a quicker amount of time than Vestry did. But he certainly could have just done all this shit during Vestry. But I'm thinking he was probably in the fits of his addiction with WWE Champions back in 2020. So it was never even a thought. On top of the fact, for those of you who remember, DSP's usual MO is, if the contributions still continue, if this level of support keeps continuing, I'll be able to make these changes. I'll be able to make these upgrades. I'll be able to do the things that you guys want me to do. So I can bring you guys better content and so on and so forth. These are all opportunities he could have done over the last 4 years. I just don't see why he waited till right now. Now, it's been told to me many times, and given some of the things that are going on with the channel this year, I've been told that some things with taxes have changed, contributions online and things like that have changed, stuff like that. I don't know exactly how that affects him in particular. Not in the deeps of that yet. I've got other people, other members of GTG Network and Productions that are kind of working out those details. But I see a value in kind of getting vested, getting some vested interest in that, because I'd like to know, because maybe that'll speak to it. But even then, wouldn't that actually prompt him to actually save a bit more money? Like, let's be honest, with all the money that we spent on all these consoles, all these PCs, all these other peripherals and all this shit, does he have the money for his taxes for the next quarter to be straight? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is it that we can't afford to take Catherine out on a trip, but we can go ahead and buy all this stuff for himself? Which is all just self-grandizing. It's all self-gratification. It's really just self-gratification for him. It doesn't really better the business because he won't learn how to use it properly. It doesn't really help with his income per se, because it doesn't matter how good the quality of his content becomes visually and audio-wise, which audio is suffering tremendously. The visuals are just funny, seeing him clip in and out of his green screen or whatnot. It doesn't matter how good any of that is, that won't bring in the money. The reason why it won't bring in the money, is because his content is not the draw. The begging is. That's how DSP makes his money. I've told you that for years. That's how DSP makes his money, is by begging. By playing upon people's sympathies and their empathy for him. It's not about the content, not about the content that he put out today, tomorrow, yesterday, or years ago. It's all dead. I don't know what he's making on YouTube, but it must not be jack shit when we're barely able to hit a couple of thousand views per video, given what his sub count is. But truth be told, I don't know if a sub count really means a damn these days anyway. If that was the case, Review Tech USA wouldn't have sat there and dropped his 1 million sub channel. Not that that meant anything, because he bought most of those subs anyway, and the views were botted. Just like on RTU streams. Which is going to be funny once that shit comes about, but I'll wait on that. I have a whole segment where we're going to talk about that in Rich's 2024, because goddamn, that was special. Anyway, back to DSP. This pay-to-win model is going to fail miserably. I think that because of his lack of knowledge and understanding and general upkeep, One, he's gonna be too lazy to do it. He'll be too lazy to keep the PCs up and running, hardware wise, meaning just keeping the damn thing clean and you know what I'm saying, running efficiently. Software wise, as it pertains to updates, he's going to download everything under the sun that people will tell him without actually understanding how it works, and God knows what kind of stress he'll eventually end up putting on it itself, because he's going to have multiple programs running that don't need to be running. God knows what he's going to have running in the background. On top of whether any of that shit ends up becoming compromised at one time or another. His inability to learn how to take care of these things, how to actually improve and be a better streamer, goes back to the persona of not the fraud, but the poser that DSP is. He's always tried to tell you, he's always tried to tell us that, you know, he's one of us, he's always been a PC gamer, he's all these different things. And clearly he's as incompetent as any child who's learning day one in computer class or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Like, watching him put together that mic arm was the most embarrassing thing that I gotta say I've seen from DSP in a number of years. He was fighting and losing that battle. It was the most hilarious and yet just downright pathetic thing that I've ever seen. I gotta say, and I've said that about a lot of things that DSP or even other lolcows have done. And I gotta say, that's up there. That is fucking up there. Watching him go back and forth and just losing miserably. On top of that, I came to the realization, and I don't want to put the idea in anybody's head because that's not what I'm trying to excite. I also realized how helpless DSP is, not just mentally, but physically. I realized, I've always known this. Deep down, I've always known this. But I got the confirmation that if someone ran up on Phil Burnell, DSP, Darksydephil, Dark Geppetto, he's done. Like, he's literally done. Like, him trying to disconnect that extension segment from the actual arm itself was I believe an infant could have figured it out and gotten that off. And he couldn't. Even with a wrench, he couldn't do it. This idiot has no idea or no concept of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. It was like just basic motor skills, hand-eye coordination. Like, it's not there. Now, I've told you that for like fighting games for the longest, and you can see that through his gameplays. But to see him try to function with a tool and just fail miserably, and even more importantly than that, the physical embarrassment, the psychological embarrassment was even more telling. Watching him fail at this, and him looking at the chat for some type of confirmation, some type of help, it was like watching him, and I've used this analogy before, it's like watching a man, and I use the term loosely, it's like watching a man drown. Like, had no competency whatsoever. You clearly didn't know how to swim. You clearly had no business being out there. And it was like watching him drown. And it wasn't because no one wanted to go in and get him out. It was fascinating to watch him drown. That's a dark analogy, but that's what it was. I was absolutely fixated on watching him drown. I know it shouldn't happen. I know this thing isn't difficult. Not even isn't that difficult. It just isn't difficult. And yet I couldn't turn away. It was the most it was the most fascinating thing ever. I showed this shit to Milk and Cookies, and she was like, he really is retarded. Yeah, he really is. Like, to be honest with you, you can argue with me all you want, but he really fucking is. It was crazy. I can't wait to send that shit to Asian GTG and see what he think. I was stunned. And looking at him with this sense of urgency, this sense of fear, this sense of embarrassment at the chat, wanting, like, yearning, damn near begging for them to help him, and they weren't doing it because they themselves were equally as stunned, was ridiculous. It was just, I can barely I can barely conceive it into words on what that was and why it went down the way it did. It's moments like that. It's moments like that that really justify in some ways, at least in my eyes. Why people follow DSP, and in a lot of ways, why they follow him for as long as they do. Because DSP has this notion he's a normal, regular guy just like everybody else. And he doesn't understand why these people pick on him. He doesn't understand why these people mock him. He's not any different than the rest of us. You know what I'm saying? He's just an average, everyday person. And yet, with every endeavor he looks to take on, he proves otherwise. You've been a content creator, and I use that term loosely, and streamer, and I use that term loosely, for over a decade. Or 16 years, and 10 years respectfully, whatever you want to call it. And you really know nothing. You've learned nothing. You haven't taken anything in whatsoever. If there weren't people around you to hoof hold you, you'd be lost. And as I put that into context and grasp the realization of that in a larger picture, I'm supposed to believe this idiot is running a household, is balancing a budget, a checkbook, keeping appointments together, making payments on shit, and so on and so forth. All the everyday things that people do. I'm supposed to be able to believe that he does that well, according to him. And yet we can't even figure out how to put a mic stand together. We can't even figure out how to pull loosen the extension of that mic arm. We couldn't figure out how to do that. Barely competent with our hooves trying to hold a tool that clearly was out of his grip or his grasp or his feel. Like, he looked alien. It was like he was holding like the fucking Dead Sea Scrolls or some shit when he had that wrench in his hand. The fuck are you doing, man? Like, where did your father fail you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, most parents, mothers or fathers, honestly, usually teach their children how to use some type of tool in some way, shape, or form. He looked lost. And I mean lost in such a way that you've been coddled so goddamn long by everybody in your goddamn life that you can't do a damn thing. And it shows. And it shows. And in a lot of ways, I think he does it on purpose. I think he purposely embarrasses himself / victimizes himself to show people, to justify to people that he needs help. And I don't mean like he needs mental help. He does need that. But that how he needs help to keep going. To justify to people why he needs people to support him. He needs to have people help him through these playthroughs. He needs to have people morally support him. He needs to have people to fight back against the trolls or to try to one-up the trolls or whatever the hell you want to call it. He needs people to support him financially, because if he fails at this, he can't do anything else. Now this is something that any detractor, troll, hater, and critic worth their salt knows that. But I think it's literally him showing his soft underbelly to the internet, being like, you guys can't let me down, because if you do, I have nothing left. Now this might be me reaching, which is, I could see that. I could honestly see that. But I honestly think that's what that was. I don't know not one rational person that has an iota of pride or self-respect or dignity, you know, all things that he doesn't have, despite what some of you may think, would allow himself to be ignorant like that. And then even crazier, he basically said that he had a practice run with trying to adjust the mic or an aspect of the mic like a day before or a week before or whatever it was, leading up to this new mic arm showing up. On top of the fact that he had ordered, what, 2, 3, 4 other mic arms as well that we just got sitting in the wings? Just like how we have multiple capture devices just sitting in the wings just in case? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. His pay-to-win aspect is going to fail miserably. If one of those PCs go down on him and he can't figure it out, he's proper fucked. And it only takes one. Now, the second one, his old PC, the $3,000 Lemon, it's still in the office, I'm sure. It's still kicking somewhere. Has he thought about, hey, maybe I should go ahead and take it out in my patio, blow the dust out of it? You know what I'm saying? Try to see if, you know, and then hold it as a secure backup, because he can't go to Catherine's PC because he doesn't have no experience with it, and he doesn't have time to do it on the fly. If one of those PCs fails on him, he's fucked. Well, he's really not, because he has his laptop too. He could literally just have his laptop do what his laptop could literally take the place of either one of them. Maybe not the gaming aspect, at least not at the quality that he wants, but at least decent enough. Yeah, one of those PCs fail on him, he's fucked. And then we're gonna have to cough out another $2,000 or $2,500 or another fan is gonna donate another PC to him in air quotes, and he's gonna be out of the game for a day or two. He really can't afford to do this. So here's my point. By going with this pay-to-win aspect and not actually learning how to use anything and being dependent on all these other people to walk him through the process or to preset his settings just so he could function, even though he doesn't really know how to make anything work or how anything works in general, he's made himself that much more susceptible to failure. And I think it's a double-edged sword. I think he depends on people seeing how... I think he's going for helpless, but I think realistically it just shows you how worthless he is. And yet at the same time, if shit falls apart, not everybody's going to be Captain Save-A-Ho on speed dial. It really changes the aspect and the power dynamic in a lot of ways. And we've seen this before with King Tut or Tutmosis. I know they're two different people, or they're at least said to be two different people. You saw how financially dependent he was on him for that short period of time. I would say he was more financially dependent on Tut or Tutmosis or King Tut more than he is on Only Iced Coffee. You know what I mean? Like, he's falling into a trap multiple times over and he ain't figured it out. With that being said, let's go ahead and speak on Iron Chef Sakai or whatever briefly. I don't know what his plans were. I don't know what gay op that he was in on or whatever the case may be. But that was foolish as shit, because if you know anything about Only Iced Coffee, when he started up, he was trying to get into Modship or into the Discord or both. And Phil had said, this was in some of the Discord leaks back in that time, people that were in his little group there were basically like, you know, hey, we're gonna make him a mod. So if I remember this correctly, don't hold me to this. We're gonna make him a mod. What we're gonna do, this, that, and the third. And Phil basically was like, nah, we're gonna bleed him. We're gonna bleed him for a while and whatnot. And why not? He didn't trust Only Iced Coffee in the beginning. He probably still doesn't. But the guy kept pumping money out. So why give him any quote unquote give him any exclusive access or any amenities when he's going to pay either which way? You know what I'm saying? He played the fuck out of Only Iced Coffee, you know, for a very long period of time. Maybe he still is. So why would I believe Iron Chef Sakai or whatever his name is was going to be able to pay all this money to get himself into this fucking Discord chat or into that Discord and then do what? For what? And then the moment that you had a problem with the Medicare documentary, mainly the bathtub Ross thing, which I can understand your complacency on that. So fuck it, especially if you actually know what was going on, because obviously fucking June the King only did so much. He half-assed that whole shit. It was fucking rushed. If you really delve into that shit gets disturbing as hell. That gets stupid disturbing. Matter of fact, I think the guy's name is Shamu. Is it Shimu? I can't remember his name. But he did the King of Pole documentary recently, and they go far deeper into what that whole bathtub Ross thing is, and that's just disturbing as fuck. To be honest, if you guys want to look at that, you can check that out at your own time. But that's disturbing as hell. So I can understand Sakai or Iron Chef, whatever, being disturbed by that bullshit. But how are you going to sit there and make all this fuss, then run to your kick channel, go ahead and spew off whatever bullshit you spewed off, and then you back over there with Phil? You're back literally in the fucking outside the Snort fort, begging to get in like a week or two later. Like, what were you trying to accomplish? Unless it was somebody else's plan, which even still, you didn't mind losing all that money in a failed attempt. There would have been better ways of going about it, but that's neither here nor there. If you're hanging out with dents or whatever, especially if you're a dent yourself, I don't expect much outside of that. That's neither here nor there. That was, I don't know, that didn't make any sense. I mean, it was expected. I expect stupidity. As stupid is, as stupid does. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. But fucking A, man, that was crazy. That whole shit was crazy. Anyway, I think that's what we're going to see in 2025 moving forward. A lot of the pay-to-win type situation. I think you can still see LTG's influence shine very brightly in DSP's movements. And to be honest with you, given that the interview saga in 2024 failed, I very strongly believe that he's going to try to work his way back to LTG in 2025. Once he, like right now, he's taking his little pop shots. Oh, look at my setup compared to his and all that lame ass shit. Because he's trying to bait LTG, and LTG ain't biting, which is pissing Phil off, or at least it did initially. Now Phil's getting nervous because whatever connection that he thought he had with LTG, or he was trying to build up, or whatever rapport, he's scared that he's completely thrown that shit away. So he needs to prove that he's on the same footing as an LTG. And in a lot of ways, I'll go further, but I will make a video about this. I think he feels the same way about Stuttering Craig. I think he's trying to clean himself up, if you will. He's trying to build himself back up to present himself to these two people in particular. There's probably others, to show that he's worthy of their time. I'm sure Moist Critical's in there somewhere. I'm sure Mrhuth's in there somewhere. But then again, I don't know if Mrhuth is someone you should be talking to right now. Moist Critical got his own issues that's only starting to pile up, so that might not be the play either. That's my thoughts. That's just some of my thoughts with this whole pay to win thing. It's supposed to lead into something bigger, I think. But I think it's going to fail miserably. I think it's rushed. I think it's just going to expose his idiocy and his insecurities and his incompetency even more. It's not going to play out. It's not going to pan out the way he thinks it's going to. That's neither here nor there. You know what I'm saying? If you guys have a thought on it, I'd appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Leave it down below. Thanks for just hearing me out and whatnot, I'll have a video that will follow this up. We'll go over DSP's whole setup for 2024/2025, and I'll point out more bullshit because Jesus Christ, it was embarrassing. And we'll have some fun times with it. Either which way, thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.